Welcome back, everyone. It's Stray Faye here with another episode of Cafe Enchante. We are just starting Ill's route, the fallen angel who loves otome games. We don't really know that much about him other than that, and that everyone likes to take care of him, and he has some pretty crazy powers in some of the other routes, but yeah, I am very eager to find out more about him and see if maybe we can go to his world. They alluded to his world, the heavenly world, but we've never gotten to go there in the main chapters. So kind of wondering how that's gonna be like. It's probably gonna get crazy. The other 3 routes we did get crazy, so I'm expecting this to be the same as well. Alright, anywho, let's start. A melodious bird song signaled the crisp dawn, drawing my ear to the joyful chirps. How lovely! The sunlight stunned my eyes, sore from slumber, as I shuffled to look out my window. It was idyllic, almost as if the Amasaki Island incident had never happened. Enchante sat below the brilliant sky, blue and infinite. But it wasn't the tranquility that stole my attention on this fine morning. Please look hither, Ignis, at the article I found in this gaming publication. Huh? Okay, I hear ya. Give it here. What's it say? 2 scientists locked an epic battle. Sawa Noedakai versus Nuichirasu Z. Advanced test screening to be announced? Wait, what? Not the crude film advertisement. I was referring to the previous page about the game announcement. It says here. They're remaking the first otome game I ever played. One so dear to my heart. And the release date soon approaches. Oh. The game itself was a golden classic, with a dated game engine, but no means for one to download. It was tragic, a cruel era in time. But now, after a decade's worth of gaming innovation, I get to savor it once more. It's truly a miracle. You had to really bite your lip for that, Ill. A reward for the lifetime of my love, devotion, and prayers, which lay in the bounty belonging to heaven. I see. Are you even listening, Ignis? Yeah, I'm listening. The limited apple tart you brought back's on sale, right? Good for you, pal. Not even care. Ignis munched on a cheeseburger with no intention of looking back at the magazine. The weather brought with it good conversation. Another one of the day's peaceful gifts. But the best gift of all was seeing Ill's gleeful smile as he waxed poetic about his favorite otome game being remastered. The clock chimed as the minute struck the hour. It dawned on me to say something to Ill, who was still engrossed by the article. Ill, shouldn't you get ready? Go on and prepare your belongings before we go. Oh, is it time already? In that case, I shall fetch my wallet from my room. Ill hummed a gentle tune and skipped upstairs, then, as if to replace him, Canis emerged from his room and waited for Ill to pass before heading down the staircase. Are you and Ill going somewhere? He seemed rather chipper. Yep, we've been planning this trip to an otome cafe for a while now. Collab Cafe. As the name suggests, a cafe open in collab with games and anime. Most of them are held for a limited time only, and many fans of the original work come to visit. They can have anything from limited goods to original food dishes. Alright, that's more common thing in Japan, don't really get that here. Don't really get that around here. A cafe? But if you had need of a cafe, wouldn't Enchante suffice? How to put this? They call it a cafe, but the experience is way different. They devise a menu based on locations or things from the game. They even sell merch. He went on and on about collecting all the limited coasters to complete his little fandom shrine. The guy's never worked a day in his life. He was born spoiled. He'll die spoiled. It was indeed likely the angel was in his room stuffing fistfuls of gold into his pouch. I momentarily indulged in my daydream when Ignis pointed his nose at me sternly. But I guess I'm grateful that pale, skinny hermit's finally leaving his room. Even if it is for some pansy otome event. Just do me a favor. Don't spoil him, okay? I'm not spoiling him. Besides, going to other cafes is good business. Consider it market research. Haha, you said it best. I think we should celebrate his initiative to leave the house. It's an occasion. That reminded me, when I had first moved to Enchante, Il shut himself in his room to game for hours. Ignis took great offense to this and barked. Hey, open up! Take down this damn barrier, you little nerd! You haven't left your room in 3 days now. Come out to eat at least. I refuse. I am committed to my mission of playing this game to completion, which demands my total concentration. Oh no! We're gonna start breaking things, dude! On the second floor, a conflict of sorts waged between a fallen angel and a beast fighter. They're gonna pay for repairs. There were more than a couple instances of Enchante's foundation being shook. It delights me to see Il enjoy investing in his hobby more. While I, for one, would love to aid him on his quest. Considering the event is open to the general public, I must, decline. I'm sure. I mean, Cadus has been out in public. No one seems to care that he's, like, wearing a helmet on his head. I guess that's just because of all the charms they put on him. I couldn't help from smirking as there was no mistaking the embarrassment in Canis' voice. As expected, the only places Il had expressed any interest in visiting were related to otome. Although Canis did take Il to, like, a game store once, I think. In other words, they swarmed with women. Although women who attended otome events were something else entirely, Il rarely felt comfy in spaces with members of the opposite sex. But I think you've been rubbing off on him as of late. His demeanor improves after each of your outings together. Make no mistake, this can only mean good things for Il. On his behalf, I thank you, Kotone. Oh, shucks. No need to thank me. It's no problem at all. Remember, don't be stupid. Huh? Unlike Canis' show of gratitude, Ignis kept sneering, pointing his nose upward. All of you want to pat the baby on the back for leaving the house, but he's still gonna crap his pants. The guy's got no idea how to act in front of humans. He's a walking nuclear bomb and no one has a clue. That is true. That is true. He has a lot of power, even though he acts like he doesn't know anything. Couple that with his lack of social etiquette, and baby, you don't stand a chance. Put us on a timesheet and give us shifts, if you want. The moment someone takes their eyes off him, boom! Disaster. Take it from me. That's why you can't loosen the leash just because he's learning how to be normal. Walking nuclear bomb? Ignis, you're so dramatic. Oh no. Is this foreshadowing? Thank you for your patience. Shall we get going? Yeah. Alright, we'll be off. Ignis, Canis, make sure the place doesn't burn down while we're away. Of course, you have my word. Sheesh. Has it totally slipped her mind that no one here is a human? Some characters in the background, probably from other otome games that probably been developed. I don't know, they look like clear defined otome characters. I'm just not sure what games they're from. Wow, amazing! As we settled into the eager crowd of fangirls, I heaved an astonished sigh. Gorgeous decorations, big illustration panels decorated all around us. At the back of the shop was a humongous widescreen TV playing otome-related trailers on a loop. For a moment, I thought I had found myself in just such a game. What? That was silly. Just as I anticipated, he was in his element. Kotone, our seats are this way. Let us hurry and take our seats. After our meal, we should hurry to the photo booth. The fallen angel, liberated from his usual graceful veneer, frolicked around excitedly. As I reminded him to calm down with a genuine laugh, I took a glance around. Ill stood out, that much was true. Thankfully, unlike last time, it seemed the other guests assumed he was with me. The thought gave me relief, and I headed towards the seats Ill motioned towards. As we sat in our chairs, my eyes darted around the table, staring in awe at the luncheon mats and other memorabilia. As I watched Ill carefully stow the paper luncheon mats into a case without creasing them, we both peered at the menu. I mean, I guess maybe we all have a little bit of Ill inside of us. I've definitely, tried to preserve some things that would probably be, garbage to other people. As we flipped through it, Ill's eyes widened at the vibrant photographs inside. Magnificent. This dish is a homage to my favorite character. How they managed to reproduce it to near perfect accuracy stupefies me. Not to mention the intricate detail on this exclusive utensil, with symbols of his engraved onto the handle. Wow, they really spared no expense. I never would have noticed. Yes, it is a superb reproduction. This is the zenith of fan service. May heavens bless whomever designed this exquisite menu. It does seem worth the money. Wait, what? Staff member A. Whoa! Look at this! I bought a lottery ticket on a whim, and I won! Are you serious, senpai? How much did you win? 5,000 yen! Huh? That's nothing. Is that Ill's blessing? Just increases luck a little bit. Hey buddy, with a wife as expensive as mine, I need to get all the help I can get. But tonight, drinks are on me! Are you just gonna waste all that money you just got? The man's cheery mood brought a smile to my face. I peered back at the menu. Okay, let's decide on what to order. You said we get one coaster per item, right? Ill nodded. It seemed he already made up his mind. While it was rare for Ill to show any sort of interest in food aside from sweets, The occasion stirred something in him and he ordered the stew, which caught his eye the moment he opened the menu. In that case, maybe I'll go with the pasta. Now for the drinks. Order a trendy drink or order the character latte. It's ill, so we gotta order the character latte art. Option 2. Otome cafe stuff. Thank you for waiting! The server set down her tray and placed our meals along with our steaming cafe lattes. I noticed Il had ordered the same thing. Whoever prepared the drinks drew a lovely illustration directly on the foam. Latte art refers to the technique of drawing pictures on the surface of cafe lattes and cappuccinos. There are 2 types: free pour, where the picture is made while pouring milk, foam, and etching, where a special tool is used to draw detailed pictures after pouring the milk foam. I suppose if you need to do it quickly, maybe using a tool would be good. In case you mess up. Wow, this is amazing! How'd they do it?
Indeed, well put. I hesitate to drink it for fear of spoiling this immaculate presentation. However, it would just be as uncouth to let it go to waste. Perhaps it would be best to archive the memory before we sip.
Take a picture. Il joyfully took out his smartphone to snap photographs of the latte art. I mimicked him, taking one photo myself to honor the occasion. I stared at it for a moment on my phone, taking in the finer details. This is an animal, right? It's cute, but what is it?
A species of seabird, which is a congregate near the oceans in your planet's southern hemisphere. Better known in common parlance as a penguin.
It was a penguin? But look at the way its bangs curl. Why does it have an aristocratic haircut? It's probably it's a mascot.
Irrespective of its hair, it's still a penguin, one seemingly capable of human speech.
Aha! I see. Well, I guess it's a video game after all.
In Japan, some regard it as a deity. It has its own shrine, and even a sect of followers.
A god? This lore is getting out of control. The more I heard, the more puzzled I became. It occurred to me that asking any lingering questions would only confuse me more. So I decided instead to take in the rich aroma of my food and dig into the meal. It doesn't just look gorgeous, it also tastes delicious. Being a chef myself, on top of owning the cafe, it was a bittersweet admission. But I couldn't deny myself the stimulating experience which only inspired me more. I wondered to myself how well received a line of illustrated lattes would be at Enchante. Perhaps with latte art of the regulars. After all, no other cafe could claim that. Yes, that was what a wonderful idea it was. Just are gonna make them into an attraction. Come to my cafe or you will meet beautiful non-human boys. I twirled my fork's worth of pasta into a snug bite, mentally working out the details.
I suspect you might find this dish delectable as well. Care for a bite?
Huh? It's that good? Maybe I will.
Very well. Here.
Oh. We're doing the the hand feeding. Oh my. How immaculate. As I turned to face Il, I froze. To my surprise, a fancy spoon was held right before my face, neatly cradled with a touch of sauce on top. Ah, so this is the design made in the image of that character. Wait, this isn't the time for that. Is this...
No need to hesitate. Go ahead.
That's not what I meant. As expected, his gesture drew attention from all around the cafe. And a fact, however, to which Il seemed oblivious, showing no sign of embarrassment as 100 eyes were pointed at us.
I have seen this gesture depicted once or twice in some of my favorite otome games. Always wanted to see it for myself.
He flashed a look of genuine satisfaction. Then, Il began to sway the spoon as though to urge me on.
Something wrong? Is this not a normal act between two people of intimate closeness? I often see images of it on SNS.
Huh? Well, that's right, but the rat just started. We're not that intimate yet.
Or is it a case in which I have yet to satisfy the mutual understanding or friendship required for such an act?
That was not the case, of course. For all intents and purposes, I should have been close enough to Il by now. Honestly, it was simpler than that. I was embarrassed. But the last thing I wanted him to do was feel silly, so I tried to muster the courage. Just one bite. I let Il guide his spoon into my mouth, and I ate the stew.
What do you say? Not your typical stew, is it?
Yeah, it's delicious. I wonder what the secret ingredient is. I overcame the sudden trial, and as I let out a mental sigh of relief.
Ah, yes. I would like to sample your dish as well.
Poke. Il pointed to his own lips, smiling as though he waited for me to reciprocate. It was only natural for me to do so, right? As if to answer my question, he gazed at me with his innocent eyes. With a bright red blush, I obliged. After completing the second sudden trial, as I take a bite of the additional dessert which Il had ordered. Would you like to order some goods?
Button badges and acrylic keychains for both her and myself. The maximum number permitted for each of us, please.
The maximum? Understood. His casual manner of requesting was impressive. Excuse me. Some female cafe guest, I guess. Would you by chance be willing to trade your coasters for the character I have?
Ah, I was ready to ask the question. I have little experience participating in this kind of event, so I'm relieved you asked in my stead.
Then Il bounced happily around the different stations, trading duplicates with other girls. If anything, I was thrilled that Il was enjoying his time at the cafe. Even for myself, there was merit to be found mingling with fans as such an event. It was a wonderful introduction to otome. Of course, speaking of otome games, I had recalled our conversation earlier that day. By the way, Il, I overheard you discuss some kind of remastered game with Ignis this morning?
Kotone, are you interested in that title?
Yeah, you said it was the first otome game you played after coming to the human world, right?
They're remaking the first otome game I ever played, one so dear to my heart, and the release date soon approaches.
go.
The game itself was a golden classic with a dated game engine, but no means for one to download. It was tragic, a cruel era in time. But now, after a decade's worth of gaming innovation, I get to savor it once more. It's truly a miracle, a reward for the lifetime of my love, devotion, and prayers, which lay in the bounty belonging to heaven.
It was like super extra when it comes to just blessings.
Indeed, I must credit that game for providing true insight to the wonderful world of romance. It preaches the value of unconditional love. Ah, what a sentimental thought! Dare I say, I haven't the faintest clue. I'd be today without playing it.
Did that game just warp Ill's personality into this? Oh yeah, he even cries anime tears. I got the impression from Ill's heartfelt claim that the game left a huge mark on him.
If one wishes to acquaint themselves with beautiful matters concerning the heart, then they need look no further than otome. Ah, just thinking about it stirs my anticipation for its release. Is there no possible way for it to come sooner?
I can tell you're excited. Still. Love, huh? I was hit with anxious thoughts of my own. What was it about love that had so thoroughly entranced Ill? Was he a romantic? My gut instinct told me that his fascination with the concept was more rooted in his love for otome rather than romance itself. Since he was an angel on top of being referred to as Cupid, it seemed like he just liked love. That seemed like the likeliest situation. In which case, what was the worth in questioning him about it? The more I discussed the game with him, however, the more interested I became. Not to mention, playing it would help me understand Ill better. If it's so interesting, then maybe I should try it too.
Really?
Yeah. Lately I have some time and stamina to spare too. No. I mentioned this to Ill as I skipped to the menu's title info page, hoping to learn the hardware requirements. However, what could I do? It was far more expensive than I had anticipated. I could ask Ill if he would let me borrow it, but doing so likely meant less time for him to play it himself. I look up, lost in thought. He's happy. And there he was, still beaming with joy, ready to continue talking about the game in great lengthy detail. After everything I said, it seemed painful to admit my doubt in being able to afford it. I guess I need to save up some money. I softly muttered under my breath so Ill wouldn't hear me. I'm pretty sure if you said you needed it, he'd probably just throw gold at you and be like, buy it!
It seems that when it comes to completing the Coast Collection, the high number of attendants worked in our favor.
Right? Since they're random, we ended up with a ton of duplicates. But we could go again. The Otome Cafe is going to be open for a while, right? Ill began to blink his eyes at me when I posed the question.
You want to go again? With me?
Sure, if our schedules align. I affirmed Ill's hopes, causing his cheeks to relax.
Splendid! With you here beside me, I feel truly liberated, free to be myself. Of course, before that, Outings with Swan and others were also worthwhile, but our previous outing, along with the Otome Cafe today, were not opportunities that came often.
I see. I'm happy you're having fun, Il. We talked lively as we headed back to Enchante. At first glance, Il was acting fairly normally, no different from any other pedestrians. But I couldn't help myself from letting Ignis's warning drift back into my head as I looked at Il. All of you want to pat the baby on the back for leaving the house, but he's still gonna crap his pants. The guy's got no idea how to act in front of humans. He's a walking nuclear bomb, and no one has a clue. Couple that with a lack of social etiquette, and baby, you don't stand a chance. Put us on a timesheet and give us shifts, if you want. The moment someone takes their eyes off him, boom, disaster. Take it from me. That's why you can't loosen the leash just because he's learning how to be normal. I can't drink so much water with Ignis's voice. Maybe drink some coffee too. I did make some coffee. Perfect time to drink coffee while playing this game. In these circumstances, Il wasn't outwardly causing any problems, and our simple outing went smoothly. Considering Il's carefree personality, sure, there were a number of things I needed to look out for, but yeah, it's nothing to worry. I mindlessly blurted my thoughts out aloud. As we approached a familiar park, Il stopped walking.
Kotone, would you like to rest in the park? Considering the distance we walked, are you feeling fatigued?
Huh? But don't you want to hurry back to your room to open your goods?
Their contents won't change, no matter when I open them. And regardless, I value them less than your health.
Oh. Il smiled gently as he made his suggestion. True, just as he said, my legs felt a bit sore. I see. In that case, would it be okay to accept your offer? Il and I found ourselves a nearby bench upon which we sat to take in the sights. Time slowly passed. The bustle of town echoed from the distance, along with the lively voices of children. Combined with the fair weather and my fatigue, naturally, a yawn spontaneously welled up from within. Oh no, don't fall asleep, you won't be able to watch Il! Whenever sleepy thoughts entered my head, oftentimes, that would be it. I started to nod off to sleep.
Haha, Kotone, I wouldn't mind if you chose to relax for a moment around me. I'll let you know before the sun sets.
At Il's gentle prompting, my field of vision dimmed further and further. My cheeks leaned over and touched his shoulder, and just before I passed out...
Ah, while I'm at it, perhaps I shall sing you a lullaby, so you may sleep more comfortably.
Did he just use his powers? From Il's throat, a clear and beautiful singing voice spread through the park. It lured me into a world of slumber. Wait. Okay. As my thoughts began to dull, my field cut in and out. Wait. Did he do like a too powerful lullaby? Or like not able to wake up? Why was I here? What was I doing? Oh no. Unable to find the answer, my consciousness filtered between light and darkness.
Oh my. Have you awoken, Katone?
A soft-spoken voice lifted me from my heavy slumber. Ah! Haha! Thank you, Il. I think I dozed off for too long. Right? Or so I was about to ask. Passerby? Wait. Within my field of sight, there were several people collapsed on the ground. Oh no! It was an area effect. I was dumbstruck. What? What's going on? Right before our eyes, men and women fainted throughout the park. Old man. The old man sitting on the bench next to us hunched over like he'd gone limp with closed eyes. That wasn't all. Dogs and birds. Even dogs that were being walked and birds, which moments earlier chirped in the trees, had fallen to the ground. Oh god, that's scary. In other words, for some reason, every person and animal within the park lost consciousness. A bizarre situation, to put it lightly. This is bad. We need to call an ambulance. I hurriedly pull out my smartphone to make the call, but...
There's no need to call. These people have simply fallen asleep.
Ignis was right. He's a walking nuclear bomb. Huh? Il nonchalantly interrupted me. As he said, when I took a closer look at the unconscious people, there was one snoring away, resting comfortably with his tongue sticking out. Il? A cold sweat dripped down my back. Don't tell me this was...
Yes, that would be the effect of my lullaby. That's magic for you. I did it to help you sleep comfortably. However, it seems to have affected everyone within quite some range. They should all wake up naturally within no time, so there is no need for concern.
This is gonna, like, make the news. I screwed up. I was at my wit's end, ready to scream. Within no time? Wait, how long will that be?
Given the circumstances, since they are humans with no magical resistance, I anticipate 3 days.
Wait, what? Well, you're only supposed to let us sleep for, like, the day and wake us up at sunset. Do we have, like, some magical resistance? Is that what he's implying? That's practically a coma! Then, from outside the park, people gather in large numbers, noticing the mass of people who are rendered asleep. What should we do? I don't know, maybe call Rindo? He seems like the guy who would help clean this up. Today's top story: an entire park has inexplicably fallen into a coma. I was beginning to see the headlines playing on TV in the future. But I couldn't just leave these people in their current state, so I thought it best to call an ambulance. As I grabbed my smartphone out of my pocket, two familiar figures drew out from the crowd and began to approach us. Okay, I guess we had someone watching us. You two. Oh dang! Something in my gut told me it was magic, but I had no idea it was Il's doing. Miser! Rindo!
What a coincidence! It's strange to see you two together. Are you on an outing?
Of course not. I just happened to be passing by. Miser's the one who sensed your blunder. Rindo seemed a bit flustered. He motioned with his eyes towards us at Miser, urging him to say something. Right. You don't have to tell me. I'll deal with it. Oh, I suggest covering your ears, human. Or humans. Oh, is he gonna
Oh, here's a special delivery from the demon world, Harpy Screech. Just a moment. Harpy, a monster that appears in Greek mythology, also called Harpuya. The face and chest are of a human woman, but the rest of the body is a bird, including wings. They often appear in RPGs as an enemy. As Ren and I put our hands to our ears. Yeah! Ow! Even my ears covered, the shrill voice pierced through my head. After several seconds, all the slumbering people and animals began to awake, one by one, in confusion. Well, I guess that's that. You handle the witnesses, Rindo. Okay, I've already made arrangements. More importantly, first we need to give our fallen angel here a lecture. Elle was taken by total surprise. All he could muster as a response was a troubled tilt in his head at Rindo. He's clueless. But he has so much power. With the uproar in the park settled, we all managed to return to Enchante. However, Il sat poised in his chair, with all the other regulars encircled around him. Rindo, too, was at the center, slamming his fists onto the table as he interrogated Il. Now then, Il. Got anything to say for yourself? Let's see. If you insist upon knowing. Karya, your calculations are incorrect. The value you just found should be substituted for Y, not X. Wait, what? Is he, like, helping him with his homework? Wait, seriously? Oh, I see. This was a trick question. Thanks for the save. Cute! After receiving the instructions, Akarya, who was bent over in a seat a few tables over, ran his pen through his homework assignment. That's not what I meant. Hang on, I gotta clear my throat. Apologies. Rindo, for what reason have you been so upset with me? All I did was sing. Yet you chastised me for doing so. I have no memory of ever receiving such a warning before. Do we have to, like, give him a, we have to detail every single thing he can and cannot do? Il's lack of concern prompted Rindo to grab him angrily by the temples, forcing Il to look up at him. With a look of indifference, Canis cut into the conversation. Il, for starters, I want you to think carefully about what your little song did to all those people. As instructed, Il reflected back to that time. I have heard a recent trend that humans on the whole have had their sleep schedules reduced, which is adverse on their health. With the help of my song, however short its duration, they received quality rest. I see this as a good deed, don't you agree? He gazed back proudly, in an almost divine way.
That's, well... Yes, I suppose so.
No, that's wrong! This is, like, the only one that's immune to, like, Il's demeanor. I saw Miser straining a smile at this interaction, so I asked him a question. Miser? Does Il's magic work whenever he sings? No mind. As I recalled, time in which we walked in the coolness of the evening light, Il was singing, which sprang forth a miracle of sorts. It depends on the situation. This time, he did so unintentionally and ended up involving everyone around, but normally it's possible to designate these kinds of spells with targets and areas before activation, so it's not a common thing. I see. No, this doesn't always happen. That's good. Well, maybe not good.
Furthermore, while Ill's magic is not entirely dependent on his voice, it seems when angels utilize magic, song is an important part of the ritual. For instance, when casting a larger or perhaps more concentrated spell, a song may aid in the process.
In other words, by performing a divine hymn, he strengthened his spell's powers. Angel Song, an important ritual for angels. By offering a song to heaven, they can be bestowed with increased magic power or other desired effects. What a thought-provoking concept.
People use shrines in this country to pray to their gods for blessings or offer a dance in tribute. Think of it as a similar gesture.
Ah, I get it. Wait, if it was a prayer, does that mean Il had prayed for me to rest, which resulted in his powerful lullaby? Put simply, the cause of the disturbance was my own existence? I began dizzy with anticipation and began to sweat bullets in my head. Regardless, we can deal with this another time, but Il needs to think before he acts.
How many times have we been through this now?
If you mean similar instances of questioning, I've experienced this only 37 times since coming to Enchante. If you can remember that, you should remember the rest.
Indeed.
Before I knew it, the cafe's usual calm atmosphere was disturbed. Huh. Everyone, wait a second. Are you already done with this conversation? Everyone gave me a puzzled tilt of the head in response to my question and blinked curiously. I know things thankfully worked out, but a lot of people were involved. Maybe you should get Il to understand a little more about how dangerous it could have been. You know, like, shouldn't you explain it a little more to him? I turned my gaze once again to Il, the one at the center of this. He's just... he's just happy as a clam. His eyes were closed as he was lost in thought. There's no mistaking it. He had no idea how dangerous that situation could have been. Not the slightest grasp. Alright, I think... scolding him probably won't do anything. We have to, like, explain to him, like, exactly why. Kinda like a child. Doesn't know any better. You just have to give him clear, concise instructions, I guess. Let's try explaining. Just because it worked out in the end, I don't think we can leave it there. He needs to know why you were scolding him, and why his actions were problematic. We should explain it thoroughly and talk about it in specifics until Il understands. Explain the specifics, I see. True, if you did that, I could take potential countermeasures. Surprisingly, Il responded affirmatively to my suggestion. I cleared my throat and took a breath. Maybe, like, explain to him that humans don't normally sleep for 3 days at a time. Maybe that's a good start. With everyone's effort, we can make sure that no matter what Il does, we can trust him to make the right call. However, we shouldn't miss an opportunity to teach him, not without our help. Il needs to be able to think and make decisions for himself. We should encourage that. After all, in the end, the one who faces the consequences and suffer will be Il himself. Honestly speaking, My guess is that Il will write this off as only being prohibited from singing in the park. I know, it's like, he's too literal. Like, you gotta try to make him understand. I began to explain in great detail. Everyone had a surprised look on their face, but they seemed to understand.
That's, well, probably true. Because he's not human, he is an angel. Because it's ill, I suppose. We'll let it slide. We just figured he would never learn.
Now that you mention it, that's right. He doesn't know jack shit, so he keeps screwing up.
Perhaps you've grown soft from spending so much time with him.
This is like super complacent, he's given up. Even so, despite saying that, it occurred to me that changing Il's pattern of thought would be quite the challenge. For now, I decided to explain to him about this specific disturbance.
Il? Yes, what is it? Well, it's true that humans value their sleep. It wouldn't be safe for someone to suddenly pass out, then maybe bump their head on the ground, right? That would be dangerous, so going forward, I would appreciate it if you took that into consideration.
Would that explanation suffice? What exactly did the silence mean? Normally, Il was all smiles, so when he became stone-faced, I had no idea what he was thinking.
I see. The frailty of mankind slipped my notice. True, that would be dangerous. I understand. Going forward, I'll refrain using sleep magic while outside.
Okay, that's right. Excellent. He grasped what I was telling him. With a sense of relief, I stretched out my arms, after which Ignis said something with a yawn. Well, that might be well and dandy, but didn't I tell you so this morning, huh? Yeah, you were right. Too right, almost. Maybe we need to reassess things. It was really fortunate that no one got hurt. Just sheer good luck. But if our fortunes turned... For now, it was nothing more than a what-if scenario, but still, it came to mind. While thinking such things, I went to Rindo and bowed to him slightly. I'm sorry about this, Rindo. I'm sure it takes a lot of work to mobilize the GPM.
Ah, no. It's fine. In fact, as you said, it was my fault for letting him off the hook.
No, I was the careless one here, or so it seems. We're just all parents to Il. Il has lots of mommies and daddies. It's gonna be kind of weird romancing him. It's like, are we just gonna be his mom the whole time? Oh. But without even going that far, the GPM is a government organization, so we can't keep bugging them. As I was deep in conversation with Rindo, I overheard a conversation that was going on concurrently behind me.
Why? Has Katoni apologized for something I did?
It's called supervisor responsibility. But she took you out without knowing what a numbskull you are.
But supervisor responsibility?
Gung. Devastated. We were just looking over him. Alright, we're going to Il's perspective. Several hours later, after all of us had finished our dinner. Supervisor responsibility. Is he Googling it? When a high-ranking member of a team takes responsibility on behalf of their team. I opened the dictionary on my smartphone and repeated the definition in my head. To think there was a custom for falling on the sword for someone else's blunder. But then I remembered when Rindo went all over Amasaki Island on an apology tour.
I don't understand.
Who received what benefit for the establishment of such a rule? Humanity was truly incomprehensible.
However, it would be for the best if I apologized to her directly.
My lack of foresight had embarrassingly moved Kotone to bow an apology. She seemed truly regretful. This stirred feelings I couldn't quite place, but manifesting such consequences inspired me to never make the same mistake again. I crept quietly downstairs. I overheard a running faucet. It seemed she was in the kitchen tidying things up after dinner. Slowly, I continued. I tiptoed towards the kitchen. Something had pulled my collar from behind, forcibly halting me in place. I sensed no physical force, but rather a magical manipulation of space. There was only one being, other than myself, capable of such magic. Don't move, Il. Weren't you banned from the kitchen? Did you put a barrier over the kitchen? Do you want juice? Cake? I'll grab it for you, so be a good boy and stay put. As expected, it was Miser. That's not... Oh, wait. Not Miser's voice.
That's not it. I wanted to see Kotone.
Coffee? Do you want her to make a cafe latte? Then you'll have to wait until she's finished.
No, I'm saying...
You misunderstood my objective completely. However, I had no time to explain, and he forcibly sat me down at the stool beside the counter. There, I'm heading back to the demon world. You'd better tip her working after hours. We don't want to be rude, right? With a parting gift, Miser fled the room, shutting the gate behind. I had been given clear instructions to not enter, so I had no choice. All I could do is wait here for Kotone to come out. Hey, Kotone, I finished washing these dishes here.
Leave wiping them dry to me.
Okay, thanks you two. Aw, he's the only one who can't help. It seemed I had erred, for Kotone was not alone. Cadus and Ignis kept her company. Judging by their tone of voice, they were assisting her with the cleaning. No, all I could do is just silently wait. For some reason, I was assailed by a dull knock of emptiness.
Still, it seems this will take some time. I should return to my room.
With that, I marched back to my room. Then I rested my cheek upon the hammock, which I lay in place of a bed. Normally, I would immediately pick up a nearby game console and start up an otome game, but at the moment, it felt like a hollow pursuit. In open, public spaces, I had been forbidden from singing divine hymns. If only they had told me earlier, I wouldn't have erred so egregiously. However, where could I have obtained such information? I hadn't been here in 10 years. Such matters were of no consequence before. Oh, that's right, wasn't he like locked out for a while? Because that's a long time, actually. From my understanding, I thought Grandpa Sawan, died pretty recently. So I thought Il wasn't kicked out from the door for that long. When Sawan was still alive, this place, Enchante, was my world. I once believed otome games to be the cornerstone of my emotional education. Once in a while, Ignis would drag me out or I'd venture outside with Sawan, but no matter what occurred, it was swiftly dealt with and no such criticism had been levied at me. Which is why I had no need to learn of the world outside, nor did I have any interest. But now it's different. Ever since Kotone arrived, my curiosity in the outside world blossomed. I sought knowledge outside of my comfort zone. But my fervor, in tandem with my carelessness, caused considerable trouble for Kotone. Not only had she escorted to something I insisted upon seeing, I repaid her kindness by foisting responsibility onto her. These cryptic feelings stirred tirelessly within me, so I sought comfort by nervously caressing my limited edition figurine. The means and process to purchase such goods were well recorded, so I learned it immediately.
Learn common sense. Study society.
Over and over, Rundo, Ignis, and others instructed me to do so. It's hard to learn common sense. You have to just kind of live it. However, no matter how many internet pages I parsed through, I found no such documents. I hadn't a clue what to reference. What were sense and sensibility? How had they differed from manners? What things are allowed to be done? What things are subject to punishment? What help others adapt to the human world as if it were nothing? Or what helps others to adapt? And
why am I the only one here at Enchante who has been left behind?
Kotone is a good human. She politely listened to what I have to say and took me to places at my request. Causing trouble for her was no admirable act. That, at least, I understood. Then, going forward, to avoid repeating the same thing, was it best for me to refrain from ever asking her to take me outside? Ah.
Would not the answer at a time like this?
Whoa, what? What was that?
Ill, do you mind if I enter?
A voice at the door interrupted me whilst deep in thought. This low, piercing voice belonged to Canis. Had he finished assisting Kotone? I had no particular reason to refuse him entry. Come in, I returned through the door.
Excuse me, I was a little concerned about you at dinner. About today's matter. Don't pay it too much mind. Of course, re-examination couldn't hurt. However, since we failed to address the issue in the first place, the burden fell on us. Ill, is something the matter?
I should be asking you. Is something the matter, Canis? You're staring at me.
A strange feeling came buzzing in my ear. Had I struck a nerve with him?
No. It's just the air about you differs from usual. Could this mean that our ill is feeling a bit pensive?
Induced by Canis's tilting his head in question at me, I returned the same gesture. Okay, that was a weird interaction. We're back to Kotone. The following day, thanks to everyone's quick reactions, the incident never went public. But we weren't totally off the hook. Oh, these two together in one room. Ho ho! I see. Quite the intriguing phenomenon. They're back to normal. They're completely normal side characters. Nothing to worry about from them.
Well, it feels more like something was bound to happen.
At the time, an unusual combination of guests had visited. Of all the regulars who normally could handle a rush without issue, only Rindo was here with me.
I don't know how strong Il is, but he'd never make it in Bestia. He'd be skinned alive in no time.
We know that only too well. He got freaking beat up in Bestia. Oh, poor guy.
But he still doesn't call me by the right name. Are all angels such airheaded dopes?
Thanks for waiting. Here are the hotcakes and the vanilla ice cream you ordered. Yes, thank you for your service. Now to get right to... Aren't these hotcakes normally served, I don't know, warm?
Sucks to be you. I'm glad I just ordered ice cream. What the? Why the hell did it bend my spoon?
What? Karia? These two are here as customers right now. Oh, even Koro's in on it. Karia and Koro next to him clicked their tongues at the same time. Sorry about this. After hearing about the disturbance yesterday, they insisted to come along. Mikado and Dromi have been spending lots of time together. Now here they are. That's not a good thing. Mikado and Dromi spending time together. Maybe see what went wrong. What went wrong in the other routes. No, it's fine. They're still customers here. I appreciate their business. Our lively chat continued for a short while. Yes, but still, that's quite like a fallen angel. His peculiarity is most intriguing. Mikado had given up on poking his hot cakes with his fork, gazing at the stairs leading to the second floor. Can we like reserve them? I'm feeling bad, man. Did you say peculiarity? Yes, very much so. Even amongst non-humans, he is a rare breed. Angels know what I mean. His body and mind are remarkably powerful, yet somehow he's failed to grasp some of the most basic aspects of humanity. He's a paradox. If that's not a peculiarity, what is? Now that Mikado had said it so fervently, I stopped working for a minute.
Oh, I think you might be onto something. Even I've gotten used to living here. He's a weirdo. How to put this? Where I come from, what do we call that kind of person? An airhead.
That's... Therefore, how about we take this opportunity to conduct a psychiatric test on Il, just like with Karia? Yes, in fact, right now! The crazy scientist is coming. Upon saying this, Mikado ran up the stairs to the second floor. Hey, wait! You can't just go up on your... However, without a moment's delay, Rindo grabbed him by the collar and restrained him. Let me go! You should accept the goodwill of others when they offer. No, this isn't out of goodwill. It's simply your own curiosity, isn't it? You've completed your objective, so go back home. Weren't you supposed to meet with someone? Grr! I won't give up. Wash your neck, or rather your wings to fluff them up, and wait for me, fallen angel Il. This isn't a petting zoo. After being casually tossed out by Rindo, Mikado strides away from the shop.
The guy saying that is just as big as a weirdo as ill.
Koro's angry. Yeah. It almost felt like Koro gave Dromi a cold look and told him, "You're the one to talk." Also, I just thought of something. Aren't the majority of non-humans just like ill? It's only people like Canis who are quick to get used to living here. What do you mean? You know, like I sometimes have to go take a breather in Medio to maintain my health. While there, I like to meet with the small fairies and such, but what I say often doesn't translate. They always ask, "What's that?" So I have to explain. Normally, you know, it's just understood as what it is, and you don't have to explain it, right? Upon hearing Karya's words, Rindo realized something. Oh, I see. For example, if you were to tell a fairy roads with cars are dangerous, so be careful to warn them. Right. First I had to explain what's a car, then go into an explanation about what about a car is dangerous. That made total sense. After all, fairies had wings. There was no need for cars in their world. Those fairies are only able to live in Medio, so it doesn't really matter. But Il had to put all the effort into living in the human world and didn't really have opportunity to learn those things, right? Well, of course, there's also his bad habit of locking himself inside his room. That's right. Il's homeland, also known as Kaelm, seems to put value in different things. What was he thinking? Rindo went silent with a serious look on his face. Maybe Grandpa had felt the same. He had put in all his effort into helping Il settle into a normal life. There was no time to teach him anything else. If only he had more time. But if Il ever changed his mind, if he strongly desired to know more about the human world, I'd want to help him however I could to help him fulfill his dream. However, speaking of Il, he hasn't shown up to the cafe at all.
Isn't that how it normally goes? The guy's a gamer, if you know what I mean.
I guess that's true, but I just hope he's not too down about yesterday. I look over at the stairs that Mikado charged towards only a minute ago. A flurry of anxious feelings came at me. In the end, after sunset, it was time to close the shop, but Il never came downstairs. I went out to buy things for dinner. As I greeted and chatted with townspeople who I had met along the way, I realized something. Compared to everyone else, I don't hear much talk about Il. Of course, some people expressed concern for him, like the elderly couple I passed by. But for the most part, nothing conspicuous. Probably because when Grandpa was still alive, he never got to leave the house. Which explains why Il never realized how peculiar his values and behaviors came off to others. Since Il started coming outside, I don't really want to restrict him too much. Right. I just have to be more careful next time. Carelessness is the greatest enemy. I engraved those words into my heart. Just then, by sheer coincidence, I happened to pass in front of a game store. Sitting in front of the store was a large retail TV which played lively music. I was hit with deja vu as I choked my stare at what played on the TV screen. Oh right! Is this an ad for that memorable otome game Il mentioned? Ta-da! When the title was finally revealed, my hunch was confirmed, so I stuck around to watch it. Oh-ho! It was the footage and editing. I ended up making a low voice of impression, much like Canis would when... who dis? The owner of Enchante. Behind me, someone talked from a pretty close distance. I swung around quickly in surprise. It's Mikado's assistant? What? Before I knew it, standing there was a man who I'd seen before, but don't really know. He's wearing a hood, and his face is almost totally hidden. Ah, if I recall, you were Mikado's assistant? Affirmative. GPM Development Division Manager. Akira Mikado is my employer. Hello. This is the first time we've spoken, right? I'm Kotone Awaki. It's nice to meet you. Did you not hear me? You. Tell me why you're watching this video. Huh. This video. You meant the otome game ad, right? Out of interest, I guess. One of my regular customers has been looking forward to this game's release. Do you mean the fallen angel? Oh yes, it's him! Mikado must have told you, right? Affirmative. He said it was a remake of the first otome game he ever played. I see. Unlike Mikado, you're not very interested in ill, are you? I refuse to answer. I needn't bother telling a third party. I see. A silent type, or just a bookish person? Enough idle talk. I have a message from Akira Mikado. From Mikado? For me? When he visited the shop around lunch, he was forced to leave, so maybe he didn't get to tell me. Affirmative. Because of the Amasaki Island incident, I'm here to perform research on Medio on behalf of Karo Rindo. Akira Mikado will be occupied for some time and will be unable to take charge of medical examinations for Karya Abe. Wait then, what should we do in the meantime? From the start, Karya Abe had no inclination to go to the GPM of his own volition. Thus, in Akira Mikado's place, I shall head to Enchante to take charge of his examinations. Oh, I see. Mikado must be having a tough time. I understand. I'll let everyone know. And while you're at it, please come by to enjoy some coffee, as a guest too. Anyway, I'll be going now. Please treat Karya well. That was a weird interaction. Mikado's assistant. Is this from his perspective? Ah, I finally found you. So there you are, assistant. Good grief. You said you'd pick me up, yet you totally ignored the time and place agreed on. Because of that, I had to search for you in this crowd. Police officers came up to question me several times. I was like, child, what are you doing out alone? By the way, I caught a glimpse of a person leaving. Were you speaking with the owner of Enchante? Wasn't this your first time speaking directly? What was your impression of her? Ordinary. One of the most unremarkable humans I've ever met. She seems totally incapable of controlling that. So I take you weren't a fan. A harsh evaluation, but perhaps it's expecting too much of a cafe owner. More importantly, Akira Mikado. Yes? this advertisement video concerning the amusement mechanism of otome games. What exactly would that be? I request a detailed explanation. Huh? Oh, I'm getting weird vibes. Oh no. We never really got... I don't know, Mikata's assistant. It is odd that he is a... that he has character art. He has a portrait. So now I'm starting to get some bad vibes. Something's gonna go down. Alright, so we're back to Ill's perspective. I wonder what he's been doing all day. After I had secretly watched Kotone depart so that I could go shopping, I returned to my room and began to play otome games as I normally would. I could not shake yesterday's events from my mind. As Canis suggested, it was imperative for me to live as usual. However, my thoughts and actions contradicted. Normally, the stories of love shared between the characters on my screen would cause my heart to flutter.
If only I knew. At the moment, I'm having no fun.
I could hardly put on my headphones. Is it really okay for me to be carefree and play otome games like this? Absent-mindedly, I returned my gaze to the otome game screen in my hands. I press the progression button. The next message is... Thank you for all your help. You're so dependable. The heroine's lines of gratitude to one of the main characters displayed.
Dependable.
For some reason, while the world itself wasn't too unusual, it caught my eye. I pondered the meaning of the word, which suddenly appeared in my view.
Dependable. To rely. To be relied upon.
I realized I had never taken the opportunity and searched through my memory. In otome games, if something happened, it often was the case that a love interest would help out.
While some can be a little ill-tempered, very few cause major issues for the heroine or cause trouble for her. In the end, they help the heroine, and most often earn her favor.
Perhaps that goes for Kotone as well. If she has a similar state of mind as this heroine. Miser, do you have a moment? I found some unusual coffee beans, so I wanted to try blending them. I wanted your thoughts on the taste and to ask for any advice you have. Of course! Mr. Miser's always willing to lend some expertise. Oops. Sorry about this, Canis. I know I asked you to carry everything. Is it heavy?
This is still very light. If there's anything else you need, please don't hesitate to ask.
You know, if you're going to go out alone, you shouldn't walk around so vulnerably. How many times have some low-rate pickup artist bastards pestered you by now? Ooh, you say that, but how could I not be so vulnerable? But I'm glad you showed up to help, Ignis. Thank you. I recalled daily life here, with the figures of others helping Kotone. In contrast,
Kotone, do you have free time today? I have an earnest request for you. If possible, sometime today, I'd like you to take me to this place.
Ill, I just baked some of those wonderful cookies you mentioned before.
Thank you very much. The cookies you bake have just the right sweetness. I truly adore them. In particular, I like the flavor of these cookies, with cocoa kneaded into the dough.
When you say that, it makes it worth making them. Oh, I'll clean the dishes, so leave them there. Are there any other snacks you want? It might take some time to practice, but I'm up to the challenge.
I see. In that case...
Oh, he feels bad. He's like the only one taking in the relationship. He's not giving. I stood in reflection until I realized.
I'm not really doing anything to help Kotone, am I?
In fact, I ask her for things, am pampered, and now I've created more work for her. Well, in a way, I suppose nothing's changed since Sawano's around. But with her, when it comes to Kotone, for some reason I have the urge to rebuke myself. Even though right now she's not in low spirits or in any sort of trouble. But that doesn't change how kind she is as Enchante's keeper, for which I am grateful. Therefore...
something I could do for her.
Before I realized it, I put away my game console and walked in front of a certain room. What? Who's there?
It's me.
The hermit? I didn't know you ever left your room. Alright, come in. A hermit? While I was somewhat accustomed to the term, it stung as I entered the room. There's no sign of Canis. He's likely returned to Medio. I know, it's kind of weird that, like, Il has his own room, but they have to share. But I guess there's kind of like a partition in between. It almost looks like a mirror, but yeah, they are different rooms. It kind of, the perspective kind of weirds me out every time I look at it. I decided to get straight to the point.
Ignis, there's something I wish to ask you.
What, about a game again? Then don't come to me. Talk to Canis or Kotone. I shake my head, then...
You call me a hermit, but to change that, what should I do?
What? Oh. Back to Kotone's perspective. Ignis is like, what? He wants to change. So there you have it. For a while, Mikado's assistant will be stopping by. Don't be surprised if he enters the shop. Just greet him as normal. While they partook in their dinner, I told everyone about my earlier conversation. I already told Rindo, who isn't here, and the main person concerned, Karia, through my smartphone. I understand. Still, this means an additional patron for Enchante.
Yes, just a short time ago, I never would have imagined such a change.
Although most of those guests aren't decent. That weirdo subordinate, huh? I already have a hunch he's got quirks.
You should be on guard.
Just being Mikado's assistant has done huge damage to his reputation. Oh, that reminds me. I forgot to ask his name. I should ask next time. Until he tells me, I go with Mr. Assistant for convenience, as I think about calling him this. I take a glance over at Il, who has finished eating his pancakes and ice cream parfait. He is quiet right now, but he was responding like normal during dinner. It seems he's gone back to his usual self, so I'm relieved. Just then... I'm stuffed! Today's food is pretty good! Ignis finishes eating his last bite. Everyone takes that as a signal to say their after-meal greetings. Then... Everyone except for Il stands up from their seats to carry their dishes to the kitchen. As usual, Miser and Canis go take Il's items. Or so they tried. Il picks up his plate and avoids their outstretched hands. Oh no, he's trying to help. What's wrong? You'd always just smile and thank them for taking it. Il looked at the plate in his own hands and his face stiffens into a somewhat dignified look.
I'll clean up after myself.
With an uncertain manner in his hands, he stacks the plates he was using and raises them up. He strains to keep them balanced and walk towards the kitchen entrance. At that moment, the was like, what? A great commotion overtook Enchante.
Impossible! Il cleaned up after himself? What in the world has happened?
Maybe the otome games he's playing had an extremely depressing ending, and he's working through the mental shock. Mikado! Wait, no, maybe we should call Mr. Assistant to do a medical exam.
All of you shut up and think. You got it backwards. You should have been doing this from the start.
That's true, but this is too sudden, so I'm worried.
Well, he's allowed to change his mind if he wants. Quit fussing over it. Let's clean up too and... Huh? Ignis's face suddenly stiffened. He pointed his gaze towards Il's hands as he entered the kitchen. You idiot! What are you doing stacking big plates on top of cups? If you carry them like that, you'll drop... That night, the fallen angel's redemption was punctuated by the shattering of a dozen dishes. It thundered beautifully throughout Enchante. Oh, he just wanted to help. Okay, that was the end of chapter 1. Alright, that was pretty comical. First chapter is always pretty funny. Kind of easy into it. Alright, whose perspective are we going on now? Well, anyway, this will probably I'll have to wait for the next episode. Yeah, so we got some heartwarming fuzzy feelings. Poor Il's just trying to like... I don't know. It's still supporting my theory that he's like kind of a robot, but he feels just very young and naive. And yeah, he's just trying to like learn how to just be a normal human, which is fair. He live in the heavenly world. Common sense, even in different countries, aren't the same. But yeah, it's probably a good time to take a little breaky break. I'm getting really thirsty. Anyway, I hope you guys had a fun time with this, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.